Do you not understand what we're saying? You really are dim-witted, said my in-laws as they tried to kick me out. I told you time and again not to leech money from our son. Disappear, you parasitic wife. Despite their harsh words, I decided to leave. Arguing seemed pointless. It might be enlightening for you to personally experience who the real parasite is, I murmured to myself. My name is M. I'm a 35-year-old office worker. Tom and I have been married for 3 years. We don't have children yet, but with both of us having incomes, we used to enjoy trips and dining out, cherishing our happy days together. Now that I've transitioned to remote work, I handle household chores, allowing Tom to focus solely on his job. On weekends, he helps around the house, and we've managed to maintain a balanced married life. Tom and I met at a group blind date, and I was drawn to his kind smile instantly. After dating for 2 years, we got married. Even after marriage, Tom has always been incredibly supportive, his smile healing me every day. However, our happy marriage isn't without its challenges, mainly the presence of my in-laws. Tom's family runs a ramen shop that his father started 15 years ago after leaving his office job. The business seems successful with several branches in the city. The first time I met my in-laws, they were dressed in expensive luxury brands, seemingly more for show than genuine choice. To put it bluntly, they seemed nouveau rich. Our first meeting was when we visited them to announce our marriage, and from the start, they seemed to look down on me. Any daughter-in-law is fine as long as she can do housework and doesn't cause trouble, but she does seem to lack fortune, doesn't she? They remarked. I was taken aback by their directness. My husband quickly reprimanded them, and they behaved better afterward. Yet I realized there were people who spoke their minds without a filter. Perhaps it's a trait of restaurant owners, especially ramen shop owners, to be assertive. Thankfully, my husband is always on my side, reassuring me that even if I were to lose my job, we would manage together. Is this version okay, or would you like further adjustments? I wouldn't consider working in a ramen shop, so their words didn't bother me much. Besides, my husband apologized many times for his parents' rude behavior and assured me that we only needed to interact with them during major family events. Apparently, he doesn't get along well with them. I heard that his father had always been stubborn and struggled as a salaried worker. Though kind to my husband, his attitude became arrogant and condescending after his ramen shop became popular. He often meddled in my husband's career choices and demanded more respect because he was the breadwinner. That's why my husband didn't like being around his parents and moved out when he went to college. The only thing he's grateful to his parents for is that the profit from the ramen shop funded his college education. Thanks to that, he got a job in a reputable company and wants to repay them for their kindness someday. But other than that, he generally wants to avoid them. Since he told me that I hadn't met with my in-laws even once after getting married, I think one reason we haven't had to meet them is that we don't have children yet. For a while, we lived happily as a married couple. However, recently my in-laws' ramen shop started facing financial difficulties. Their rude attitude was the main cause. In the past, if a ramen shop had good food, people would visit even if the owner was gruff and unapproachable. But now, online reviews and social media heavily influence a shop's reputation. The in-laws' service became the subject of many negative reviews. Complaints ranged from the owner being too curt to messy serving by the waitresses, to the owner visibly getting grumpier during rush hours. It felt like they had become complacent due to their initial success. However, in reality, their business dwindled, and the branches served food worse than instant ramen. Negative reviews spread rapidly, causing their shop's reputation to plummet. They blamed the times and stubbornly stuck to their old ways, which eventually led to the closure of all their shops, including the main one. It seems they finally realized the gravity of the situation. Uncharacteristically, they turned to their son, my husband, for help. "Tom, please help us. At this rate, we'll end up on the streets," they pleaded. My husband had anticipated his parents would come to us like this. It really didn't work out, did it? I told you before, didn't I? If you act too arrogantly, you'll end up regretting it. There's a saying that the customer is God. If you treat them carelessly, they'll come back to bite you. Back then, you dismissed my words as just naive opinions, didn't you? This is your own doing. You really should reflect on your actions. I'm sorry. Would you like any further adjustments? But turning to us for help is futile. My husband stated firmly. My in-laws collapsed to their knees, crying at his harsh words. I never imagined my kind-hearted husband could be so stern. Yet I could feel the love he held for his parents in his words. He spoke sternly out of concern for them. At that moment, I realized how admirable my husband's character was and fell for him all over again. Eventually, my in-laws gave up and left. However, a month later, they returned to us looking completely worn out without a single branded item they used to flaunt. Even after selling all our branded goods, we still can't pay off our debt. We even sold the car, but there's still so much debt remaining. Can you help us out, please, Tom? We don't have anyone else to turn to, they pleaded, bowing deeply to their son. My husband crossed his arms, pondering what to do. I wasn't fond of my in-laws, but seeing them in such dire straits made me want to help them. Tom, what about sending them a monthly allowance? I suggested. My husband looked surprised, and the in-laws also looked shocked, lifting their heads to gaze at us. Emily, are you sure? My husband asked. Yes, I replied. You mentioned wanting to repay them for putting you through college, didn't you, Tom? Is that true? Well, I didn't say something like that. My husband hesitated. Tom, please, we'll work hard to pay off our debts. Can you at least support our living expenses? The in-laws pleaded again, bowing deeply. In the end, my husband agreed to support his parents. He decided to transfer $700 to them every month. Would you like any adjustments to this version? I chose to send $800 every month. My husband told me I didn't need to send that much, but I wanted my in-laws to pay off their debts and restart their lives as soon as possible. I believe this incident would make them reconsider their arrogant attitude. Besides, I had a source of income other than my regular job, income from real estate. I had been studying stocks and investments for a long time and had managed to grow my assets through it. After accumulating a decent amount of wealth, I purchased a luxury apartment and used it for rental income. Little by little, my assets grew, and I bought another apartment for real estate investment. Before I knew it, I was earning around $700,000 annually, so I had a lot of financial leeway. Of course, I kept this a secret from my in-laws. I was giving my husband a bit more money than necessary to support his parents for his sake. The in-laws were very grateful for our support and expressed their thanks. Tom, thank you so much. Thanks to you, our life is slowly becoming stable, they said. Seeing them express their gratitude made Tom visibly happy. I hoped that with this, they would find jobs and be able to repay their debts. However, a month went by, and it seemed they still hadn't found any work. An even more troubling issue arose. The in-laws started visiting our house frequently during weekdays. Our food expenses are getting a bit much, Emily. Could you possibly give us something to eat? They would say. They started coming around lunchtime and asking me for food. Initially, they'd just eat and leave, but recently they've been lounging on the sofa after meals and even asking for desserts. Is this version alright, or would you like further adjustments? I have work too, so I'd appreciate it if you didn't stay too long, I told the in-laws as my work was beginning to be affected. The in-laws exchanged glances and laughed. Work? Aren't you always at home? If you're going to lie, at least make it more believable, they scoffed, chuckling. Perhaps because they've been in the food and beverage industry for a long time, they might not be familiar with the concept of remote work. I tried explaining it in detail to them, but they responded with, "We don't really understand all this computer stuff," and didn't try to comprehend my explanation. No matter how much I told them I was busy with work, they wouldn't listen, and their demands only increased. Emily, we're out of tea. Hurry up and go buy some. Don't you have any snacks? Prepare some rice crackers or something. Such a useless daughter-in-law. For a housewife, you're really inconsiderate, they criticized. The in-laws kept blaming me with such words. They promised to work and repay their debts, but they kept saying they couldn't find jobs and continued to intrude into our home during the day. Moreover, they hurriedly leave before my husband returned. Probably they felt a bit guilty towards him, who was providing them financial support, or maybe they just didn't want to be asked if they found a job yet. Is this version okay, or would you like any further adjustments? I was at my limit, even though I contribute a significant part of the money we give them. Why do I have to be treated this way? I stood up to the in-laws and said firmly, "Please leave now." The in-laws, seemingly never expecting me to say that, were taken aback for a moment, but immediately their faces turned bright red with anger. "Who do you think you are? A mere wife giving orders to your husband's parents?" they retorted. "Exactly, and you're just a housewife depending on Tom's income. How many times do I have to tell you I'm not just a housewife? Enough of your delusional stories. That's how the in-laws kept shouting. Then, with a gleam in their eyes, they came up with an idea. Right, you should just leave this place. What? I exclaimed. Indeed, that's the best idea. It's because of you that Tom's remittance to us is so small. You know we're sending you $1,500 a month, right? What do you mean it's not enough? I asked incredulously. Well, that's just what our living expenses amount to normally. It's actually barely enough, they insisted. I was at a loss for words. They seemed to be the type who, no matter how much money they received, couldn't give up their luxurious lifestyle. As I stood there in disbelief, they glared at me coldly. Hey, how long are you planning to stand there daydreaming? Pack your bags already, huh? Don't you understand what we're telling you? You really are dense, aren't you? We're telling you to stop leeching off our son for money. Get lost, you parasite of a wife. They sneered. With those words, the in-laws tried to throw me out. I realized there was no point in talking to them anymore, so I decided to leave as they demanded. Understood. I'll pack my things and leave, I said calmly. My in-laws looked smug. Now our lives are finally secure, they chuckled. If it was just the three of us, Tom and us, everything would have gone smoothly from the start, I thought to myself, ignoring their hurtful remarks. Is this version okay, or would you like any further adjustments? I began to pack my things. I'll disappear as quickly as possible, I thought. Hearing this, my in-laws left with a look of satisfaction. That night, I explained the situation to my husband. When he returned home, he was more dumbfounded than angry. Emily, I'm truly sorry, he said. It's okay. Now I realize that they'll never change. It's good to know that there's no point in trying anymore. I comforted my husband. Together, we packed our things and decided to leave the house. About 2 weeks later, we received a call from the in-laws. So, what's the situation now? Have you left the house? I've been trying to contact Tom about the remittances, but he seems too busy to answer the phone. We've already left, so you can rest easy. You won't see me in front of you anymore, I replied. Hearing this, I could hear my in-laws rejoicing on the other end. Ah, I see, haha. Finally, our son can get rid of the burden that was you. Haha, now with this, Tom's remittances will increase and our life will get easier, they chuckled. The in-laws seemed pleased as they continued their conversation. I sighed and responded sharply, You really had a lot to say about me, didn't you? It would be good for you to experience firsthand who truly fits the description of a parasite. As I said this, I could hear the in-laws getting angry again. With that attitude, you truly are a hopeless daughter-in-law. Well, you're probably not even our daughter-in-law anymore. You might as well live a poor and lonely life, they snapped. My in-laws were so deluded, I figured I'd just let them keep believing that. So I made some non-committal responses and hung up the phone. Is this version alright, or would you like any further adjustments? I received another call. Do you need something else? As soon as I answered, my in-laws, sounding panicked, started interrogating me. What the hell is going on? When I went to the apartment where Tom lives, someone else was living there. You know something, don't you? Even if you two broke up, tell me where Tom is, they demanded information. My husband, who was listening next to me, took the phone. I've always been with Emily, Tom. Why are you with that woman, and why have the remittances to us stopped? Maybe because you insulted and tried to drive away my precious wife. I won't forgive anyone who hurts my beloved wife, even if it's my own parents. Besides, you never listened when Emily explained multiple times about her job and such. Did you? You probably didn't even try to find out that Emily was sending you more money than I was. Is that true, Emily? Were you sending them $1,500 every month because you wanted them to pay off their debts quickly? And yet, they insulted you, calling you useless. I won't be sending anything to such parents, sorry, but I'm cutting ties with you as family. Now, deal with your debts on your own, my husband declared firmly. Wait, I had no idea Emily was earning so much. Can you forgive us if we apologize? Maybe then you can send money again, pleaded my in-laws. It's too late, just give it up, my husband replied, hanging up the phone. I then blocked my in-laws' number, ensuring that we would no longer be involved with them. According to what my husband heard from relatives, our in-laws sold their house but couldn't pay off their debts. Now, they apparently live in a rundown apartment, both working low-wage jobs to make ends meet and pay off their debts. When they were successful with their ramen restaurant, they reportedly acted arrogantly towards their relatives. When they ran out of money, they seemed to have asked their relatives for help, but nobody assisted them. So, they are now completely isolated, living in absolute poverty. My husband and I have given them as much support as we could. We can't cover for them anymore. It's their own doing. I doubt they'll ever change their ways or attitude, so they might as well continue living this way. On the other hand, we continue to enjoy our time together as a working couple. A year later, I became pregnant. I hadn't expected to have a child at this time, but we are grateful for this blessing from above. Together with my beloved husband, we plan to raise our precious child. Does this version meet your expectations, or would you like any further adjustments?